Good morning. Welcome to our weekend edition of In the Can for the Sundance Film Festival. We are so happy to be here. I'm one of your hosts today, Christine Napier, here with the lovely Kimberly Perrow. We have some excellent films to get to today. Can't wait to start talking to these filmmakers, directors. We even have some kids on the show.
I'm very excited about that one today.
So we're going to get right to it. Let's take a look outside and see exactly what's happening. Very light snow is falling this morning. Actually, a very beautiful day here in town. On today's show, we're going to be focusing on some fabulous films. I loved all of the ones that I watched and the interviews that I get to participate in today. Up first, I'll be speaking with Brian and Charles. Kimberly will be speaking about Chaperone after that, a short film, followed by Calendar Girls, very lovely documentary about a group of older women that dance in Florida, followed by a slam dance film called Hana Ha Ha, another charming film that I very much loved. We are going to round out our show with a summary. Kimberly will be interviewing the cast and crew and some kids as a part of that film. So very much looking forward to that. I know we're rushing through the intro because we're so excited to get to our show. Another beautiful shot of our great outdoors this morning. Looking fabulous. So that's what you can expect today. And with that, we are going to turn our attention directly to our first film of the morning. It's called David and Charles. Very excited to be speaking with these two individuals. Actually, the film is called Brian and Charles, and I have the opportunity to speak with David Earl, who stars in the film, also co-writer of the film, and director Jim Archer. Thank you, both of you, for being here today. How are you both?
Good, thanks. Yeah. We also have Chris here. The other writer, is here as well, who also plays Charles.
Oh, fabulous! So I'm so excited because this film was just one of my favorites. I actually watched it and went back and watched it again because I loved it so much. So Jim, let's start with you, the director of this film. Tell me more about the story and how you encountered these two great writers and became involved in this project.
Yeah, well, it stemmed from a short film that we made in 2017. So, I mean, the story of I'm sure they can tell you more about where the story came from, but I knew Chris and Rupert, and they sent me the script for it, like back in 2016, and I loved it, just like nothing I'd sort of read before. And so we went out, and I thought we could just shoot it really nicely and easily in Wales for like 500 quid. So we sort of did that, like with about a crew of like 4 people. And then from there, it sort of like, when it got released, it gathered interest and we made a film out of it.
It's a beautiful film. Jim, did this start as a short? Is that correct?
Yeah, it started as a short film, that we sort of made with no intention of it being a feature film. But it kind of, when we shot it, I think when we got to Wales, we sort of realized as we were doing it that we could just spend another 3 or 4 weeks out in Wales and we'd have a film. So I guess that's where the sort of idea started.
And as you mentioned, we also have David and Chris here, co-writers in the film. They also star in this film. David, tell me more about the inspiration to this story.
So I've been sort of performing as Brian on the stand-up circuit, and I also did a terrible internet radio phone-in show as Brian. And one night, Rupert, the producer, called in and used this voice simulation software where he pretended to be a robot, and that was like the birth of Charles. And it was just quite funny chatting back and forth. And then Chris got involved, and Chris is incredible at building robots. So he found a cardboard box and built one.
And Chris, tell me.
It was an incredible cardboard box.
Yeah, tell me about your role in this film, Chris.
Yeah, well, I basically heard them doing this funny little audio. We ended up doing a live stand-up show together for about 2 years, where I would be dressed as Charles, David would be Brian, and we would just do this, ridiculous sort of show together, which led us to doing the short film. And really, Charles is essentially a cardboard box. It's got this head that sticks out
there he is.
of the top.
There he is.
Yeah, it's as basic as that, but it seemed to work for some reason.
Yeah.
And we have a clip right now that I would love to show for some context here. This is of Brian and Charles. They're actually getting in a bit of an argument because Charles definitely has opinions about things. So let's take a look at this clip right now.
Come on then.
Are we going to the shops, Brian?
Yes, we are going to the shops. Now do as you're told, okay?
There are some things that I need.
Things you need.
I'd like a map of the world for my wall.
Right, okay. Well, maybe not today, because I've got stuff to do, but...
And some soap.
Soap.
And some cotton socks.
Cotton socks?
And I want to sit in the front, Brian.
No, you're not sitting in the front. You're sitting in the back. You're not old enough.
I want to go in the front, Brian.
You're not old enough to go in the front. I want you in the back.
Front.
Not front.
I will sit in the front, Brian.
You will not sit in the front. You'll sit in the back.
Maybe I could drive and you could walk, Brian.
You have got a very, very cheeky brain, and I don't like it. I don't know what's got into you. It's the same blue eye, but a different attitude. A very, very cheeky robot.
Cheeky.
Cheeky? Yes.
Cheeky bot.
Cheeky bot?
Cheeky bot, sit in the front, Brian.
Stop saying front.
Front, 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 front.
Love that clip. Chris, what were some challenges that you endured playing Charles, this robot?
I couldn't see anything. That was the main challenge. It is really just a box, so I could only see a little gap by my waist and a little gap in Charles's neck. So I had to be led around everywhere. I was constantly bumping into things, and I mainly couldn't see.
David, one of my favorite things about this film is the evolution of the character Brian. He starts out as a bit of a loner, kind of down on his luck, and really grows into this confident individual through some interesting circumstances. A lot of that due to Charles, the robot he created. But tell me more about playing Brian and about how he changed throughout the film.
Well, it was a lot of fun performing as Brian opposite Chris in the box. So a lot of the time filming, it would be try not to laugh really, and finding the whole project ridiculous. But so actually performing in the film was great fun, and doing it with friends was just amazing. Yeah, the change in Brian is just that. I mean, I don't know what to give away really in the film, but Charles puts Brian on the right path, and I don't know what to say really. I don't know what I'm allowed to. Yeah, Charles helps Brian in some way in his life, and that's all I'm going to say. I don't quite know what to say.
It's hard because we don't want to give too much away.
Yeah.
You do such an incredible job playing Brian. Just such a charming film. And Jim, as the director, I only have a few moments left, but it's such a beautiful setting, a really incredible story. What was your favorite thing about being a part of this project in this film?
Oh, my favorite thing. I mean, yeah, just making it with friends. I think that was like the nicest thing. Like just to sort of, especially during a pandemic, we got to go away to the sort of Welsh countryside and get away from, multiple lockdowns, and, stay in hotels together and make a film over 4 weeks. And yeah, like despite the weather and despite all sorts of other restrictions, it was just great to, film something together and tell a story. It's great.
Well, the film, Brian and Charles, highly recommend this one. It's in the World Cinema Dramatic. I wish I had much more time to speak with all three of them, because it's a film that you're going to be talking about. You're going to want to watch again and again. Just a film of triumph, of growth, and also a beautiful setting in the UK. So very thankful to all three of them for joining us today. And we'll be back with even more films right after this.
Welcome back to this Saturday morning edition of In the Can. I am very excited because I am talking to the writer, director, and one of the cast members of an exciting thriller here, so I am sitting on the edge of my seat. I've got Sam Max with me, writer, director, as well as Russell Kahn, producer and actor as well.
Christine.
Hello.
Thanks
Good
so much.
morning.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I'm very excited to chat with you about this thriller. I know it has my blood boiling when I was watching it. So tell us a little bit about the film, Sam, and what inspired the creation of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So Chaperone, like you said, is a thriller. It's a little mystery short film that's playing as a part of Sundance 2022. I was really, while writing the film, interested in the feelings of isolation that I know a lot of us were feeling during the pandemic. And I kind of wanted to take that feeling of isolation to the extreme and create a film that was really unexpected and thought-provoking.
Well, Russell, tell me, what drew you to this project when you initially came across it?
Well, first of all, was Sam, who I've been aware of for a good stretch of time now as a playwright, and this was their first work in the vertical of filmmaking. So that was immediately exciting to me. And then also, I think Sam, did such an excellent job at really capturing this particular type of loneliness that is both personal for them, but I think many queer people and many people in general can latch onto and connect with. And so that's something that drew me in as well.
Well, I know that we were all definitely feeling that isolation and loneliness, and we have a short clip to share, so excited to present that to our viewers today. Check this out.
This where you take all the boys?
This is it. Make yourself at home.
You have to do that now?
I do, yeah, but should only take a second. Then I'm all yours.
There is so much suspense in just watching that very short clip, and it's just a crazy movie to watch. So Sam, tell us, how long did it take this project to make from initial inception to the end of completion?
Yeah, sure. I started writing the film in the spring of 2021, and then we were in pre-production for a couple months, and then we shot the film over 4 days in New Jersey. And then, pre-production took about post-production took about another month. And then we had a final cut in mid-October and then started submitting.
Wonderful. So it sounds like it came together pretty quickly once you got the ball rolling. Now, Russell, you mentioned you had been aware of Sam for quite some time. What drew you to this project, and how did you get connected initially?
We were connected initially while I was working in the theater department at an agency, and a friend sent me Sam's play. And, what drew me to this project initially is, I think, from my first time reading Sam's work to my first time reading this short film script, there was just such a clarity of vision and sort of this lightning rod dug into the work of deep personal access. And Sam was so excellent at expressing the way that would translate into a film. And, I had trust from day one that, you know, the finished product would be something incredibly compelling, coherent, memorable, and engaging to watch.
Excellent. Speaking of engaging, Sam, without giving away too much, can you share a bit of the twist of the plot in this film?
Yeah, the thing that I can say is that there is a setup that kind of makes us think that, you know, we're in some kind of crime thriller. The younger person who's played by Russell, who's this excellent actor who's on this interview with us, he pays the older character for something. And then I can tell you that the twist deals with death, and that there is a kind of killing that happens. And I won't give too much away about exactly how that occurs.
Well, it's definitely very intriguing, and I'm sure the viewers will love the shock factor. Now, Russell, tell us one last thing. When and where can our viewers check this film out?
Everyone, please head to sundance.org to check out Chaperone. You can buy an Explorer Pass to view the entire Shorts Film program, and that'll be online through the next week.
Well, Sam and Russell, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing details, but not too much, just so that our viewers can check out Chaperone on the short films here at Sundance. We will be right back after this.
Welcome back. Right now we have the distinct honor of discussing the film Calendar Girls. It is premiering the World Cinema Documentary category during the film festival right now. Looking forward to speaking with the directors and producers. We have Love and Maria with us, as well as some of the subjects of the film. So grateful they're with us today. Maria, let's start with you. Tell me more about your decision to create a documentary based on this incredible group of women in Florida.
Well, we did this together. We're both directors and the producers. And we were in Florida with our family on vacation. And we went to this event, Touch a Truck, with a lot of diggers and tractors and a lot of big cars, because our son was crazy about cars at that time. And suddenly we catch sight of a group of women that starts to dance, and they have this energy, they have these fantastic outfits, and they dance. We just couldn't stop watching, and actually we decided to do something about them the same day. We called Catherine the same day and asked for an interview. We didn't know it would end up at Sundance, but it was a pretty easy decision to do something about the Calendar Girls.
And Catherine, you're a subject in this film. Tell me about when you got started in this group and what it was like filming a documentary about this.
I started in this group in 2005, and we've been together all these years. Filming a documentary was just great with all of us. It gives us great publicity, talking about older women working together as teammates and continuing after retirement, doing something valuable for veterans and for our community.
And Catherine, what were some of the challenges of having cameras there? Was it a little different at first? Were you able to adjust and adapt and just, you know, become to a point where you don't even notice them there and you can make sure to bring out the dynamics of the group? Did you have to convince the group to let these cameras in? Tell me more about that.
Initially, when we didn't know Maria and Luve, it wasn't really intimidating, but it was omnipresent, all mic'd up, practice, our homes, performances. But I will say they are very charismatic, charming people. And soon we forgot about the cameras and being mic'd up and just rolled with our regular practices and shows. It's hard to resist the two of them.
And Louvet, tell me more about filming this documentary. What were some of the challenges of making sure that you got this authentic response from them? And you follow around this group for quite some time. So how did you go about filming this? And what were some difficult things, but also some great things that came about?
I think maybe one of the biggest difficulties was all the time we had to spend with them to get so close that we did in the end. Because we live in Sweden, so we had to go back and forth between Sweden and Florida. And we have 2 kids. Our youngest son was only 3 months when we started this. So we flew back and forth between Stockholm and Florida. We had to bring my parents as babysitters so we could spend as much time as possible with the Calendar Girls. So I guess that was a big...
Yes, because we really wanted to get to know them as persons. So not just to look at we wanted to make this personal and intimate in some way, and also to get behind the costumes and the makeup and to make it about people. And so we moved back and forth, and we were there for about 2 months every time. And I really feel like we're getting friends with the Calendar Girls. And like Catherine said, I think at the end they didn't notice our cameras. We were there as persons first, and we had our cameras with us, but most of all we were there as persons, and we got to know them very well.
And Catherine, have you been able to see the documentary, and what do you think about it?
Yes, the whole dance team huddled in together and watched it recently. There were laughs. There was a lot more humor in it than I suspected initially. And we were so pleased with it, and we felt so blessed to get to see it early and to be able to praise Maria and Louvet for the years they put into it. We're very pleased with it.
Well, Maria and Louvet, how did you decide which of the Calendar Girls to kind of take a deeper look at? You do an incredible job of, like you said, taking back that curtain and being able to really meet these incredible, great women. How did you decide which ones to really focus on? Was it hard in the editing process to be able to choose what to include and what to not include?
Yeah, we started, when we started filming, we filmed a lot more of them. I think we filmed 6 or 7.
Or 8.
Yeah, closely. But as things progressed, I think it just somehow things happened that made us feel that this is the stories that fit together the best to tell the whole complete story of the film. So we focus more and more on those people. But we have a lot more that we would have wanted to use as well. But
we have so much bonus material, a lot of dances, and we'll see what we'll do with that at the end.
But I think the process was just film as much as possible from start, and we narrowed it down to this tells the whole complete story of the Calendar Girls and what it means to be a woman in this age. And
Catherine, something that I loved about this film was the group dynamics, how each of you support one another. Also, some of the challenges that the women face are really big, life-changing challenges. Age is there, but it's really in the background a bit, which was something else that took me a bit by surprise. But tell me a little more about these group dynamics and how they came across in the film.
I think when you become a Calendar Girl, you have to understand, that dance is hard work. And that immediately bonds you with sweat, or it eliminates you because it's too much work. So the dynamics in the film cover that dance is hard work. We perform a lot, we practice a lot, but we also have our regular lives. We have families, children, spouses, jobs, sickness, all things related to being older, arthritis, joint replacement, and all those things are bonding. The older you get, and then just finding a group that's so similar, that we're mostly over 60 and we're just trying to enjoy life to its fullest. And the documentary, I think, really shows that we're normal gals, but we have a passion for something specific, and we're bound together through sweat and dance.
And Maria and Louvet only have a few short moments left, but what are you most proud of when you watch this film? What really stands out to you, and what are you most excited to be able to see on the big screen when everyone's able to watch this?
I guess we are happy that we had a vision really early that we wanted to do a creative documentary and to use dance as a way to explore emotions, and also the music is really important in this film. And we're happy that it turned out so well, and that the Calendar Girls were that they wanted to do this with us, because it was a really playful process from the beginning to end. And I'm still happy when I watch the dances. I really like that.
Well, congratulations to all three of you. It's really a great film. I know audiences will fall in love with the Calendar Girls, and I really hope there's a part 2. So Maria and Louvet really challenge you to maybe take that extra footage that you weren't able to include and maybe create something else. And if you do, please reach out to us. Love to hear more about this. So once again, you can watch Calendar Girls at the Sundance Film Festival. Just head to the website. It's in the World Cinema Documentary category. We'll be back right here on In the Can after this. Welcome back to In the Can. Right now we are focusing on a film that is premiering in the Slam Dance Film Festival. This festival usually coincides with the Sundance Film Festival, but due to the virtual nature this year, it is coming up after the Sundance Film Festival. So very excited that you can watch these great films also virtually. And right now I'm talking about Hannah Haha, the whole group of individuals involved in this film joining me today. I'm going to start with Jordan and Joshua. They are writers, directors of this film. In fact, Jordan, welcome to the show. Tell me more about Hannah Haha.
Hannah Haha is sort of a generational story. It is about the struggles of a young woman sort of adjusting to life after, sort of some events in father's. Sorry, Joshua, if you could.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of the story of a young woman, and she lives in a small town, and she has this life that she likes, and it's a good life. She's a hard worker. And the movie's sort of about how, like, the material realities of the economy we live in, as well as the sort of, like, dogmatic opinions of people around her kind of push her off course. And I guess the story is really just about, like, her getting sort of, like, lost and getting pushed off course, and then sort of trying to find her way back.
And Hannah, welcome to the show as well. You star as the young woman in this particular film. What are some things that you love about this character, Hannah, that you play? And what were some things that you had a harder time relating to?
Yes, thank you for having me. I guess the character was written for me, so I was able to sort of, it was a natural process. I think that a lot of the lines are improvised, so that was really fun. I think the challenges were more in the differences between the character and I. The character is a little more passive. I'm not an actor by training. I'm a musician, so finding those differences that I guess where you have to actually act was the challenge.
Hannah, you do a beautiful job. I'm surprised that you're not an actor. Is this something you want to pursue and do again?
Thank you. Yeah, I had a blast. I've been working with Jordan now for about 8 years, so I think that in that context, it's something I love doing and would do again. I would be a little reluctant to take it to the mainstream, but.
I
Jordan
absolutely
is
hope that you do. You just portray this character in such an incredible way that everyone will relate to. And Roger, tell me more about the role you play in this film.
So I had the great joy of playing Hannah's nerdy older brother, who's more careerist and more the catalyst for pushing her out of her comfort zone in a way that sort of puts the movie, turns it on its head, where she starts off living this sort of quiet community-based life, caring for their father, and then Paul, the character I play, also moves back and sort of starts needling her about her life choices and saying, why are you only working at the farm, and why are you only donating your time when you should really be thinking about a 401k and the future? So it was kind of fun to sort of maybe try to get under Hannah's skin a bit on set, because we were kind of improvising. So we were sort of poking around, but also trying to find what was true about the character and sort of giving Paul a little bit of humanity. He's not just a jerk, he really cares about his sister. And that's what sort of makes their distance and their awkwardness a little more tragic.
And Jordan and Joshua, one thing that struck me while watching this film is the definition of success. When you were both writing this and directing it, really makes you think about who defines success and what is success for different people, and really what that means, because that can change definitely. So Joshua, tell me a little bit more about that theme in the film.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of a big thing we were talking about when writing, because when you think about like what the purpose of an economy is, in some sense, it's how do you distribute resources in a very efficient way that's good for society, and when you think about what Hannah's life is in the movie, she takes care of her father, she works at like a farm, she does just useful, good work around town. But if you think about the needs and like the material realities of our economy, it kind of funnels people into jobs that alienate them from their communities and alienate them from their, things that produce a real value. And I guess that, that was a big part, which is like not just what is success, but what is like good work,
And Jordan, I love how you highlight the small town in this film. Really, it's a character in of itself. Tell me a little bit more about what this film highlights and brings out in the small town setting of it.
Well, the film is it's a film made with friends, family, and mostly people from home, with the exception of some of our leads. So, we really wanted to just sort of make something simple, doable, and something that just captured a lot of our experiences growing up in our hometown.
Hannah, something that I loved as well in this film was a relationship that you have with your father. Tell me a little bit more about playing that dynamic on screen.
It was an absolute joy with Avram. He is Jordan's father in real life, so that dynamic was always very entertaining to have on set, I would say. He is not an actor, he's a scientist by trade, and I will say that he brought a lot to the table as far as the keeping it light on set. No food, prop or not, was safe from Avram. He just he kept us all on our toes and was a joy. I don't think he figured out that my name was Hannah and not Hannah until like the second day of filming. So he was fun to have around, a real character.
And Roger, you mentioned this, but your character comes in and really kind of throws a wrench in Hannah's life and really kind of disrupts that experience with her father. But at the same time, the whole reason you're there is because of your concern for your father, who's aging and who's not in great health. Roger, what did you learn from playing this character?
It's tough because, he is this careerist attempting at overachieving. So when I put myself in that space, and a lot of folks have been sort of saying this as I see the film too, it's like there's kind of a Paul in all of us, whether or not we want to admit it or not, where someone, or maybe a Paul, or maybe you are the Paul in your family. So I sort of use the character to think about who is the person, whether it's within you or within your family, that sort of maybe wants better for you, but has a really bad way of going about it. And how does that make you feel? And how does that sort of inform the way you grew up or the family dynamics in a way that can be like, have the exact opposite effect? You know, it sort of pushes people apart, which is sort of what the movie sort of gets at, is like, how are well-intentioned family members slowly drifting like icebergs in the sea, even though they're trying to make these attempts to sort of come back together, but also be fun with it. You know, I think there's humor in the film too that sort of goes with this awkwardness of not really having the real emotional connections in this moment that requires it, and sort of the awkwardness of that gap.
It's a film that is beautifully written and directed. As we mentioned about family relationships, a small town, also what defines success, and when you're a young adult, what really does matter to you. I think everyone, regardless of what age you are, will relate to someone in this film. Really excited for everyone to see this. Now, this premieres as part of the Slamdance Film Festival, which is coming up after the Sundance Film Festival, so you can just head to Slamdance online, you can buy tickets. Really hope that you all will watch this film and talk about it. Thank you so much to Joshua, Jordan, Roger, and Hannah for joining us today. We'll be back right here on In the Can after this. Welcome back to In the Can. I am really excited about this interview because I think we have a whole party joining us today. We've got the writer and director of the movie Summering, as well as several cast members. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks for having us. Good morning.
Good morning. So James, tell us a bit about the film. Tell us, what inspired it? How did you start with the creation of it? And, just give us some insight.
Yeah, I mean, Summering began from a desire as a parent. I have 3 young kids. I have a daughter. It began from a desire for my daughter to be able to see a version of herself and her friends in a film. A film about female friendship, about hopes, fears, anxieties. That sort of maybe sort of was a counterpoint to a lot of the films that I grew up with in the 80s and 90s, where there were sort of coming of age stories and friendship stories centered around young boys. So that's where it really began from. And, and it's a story about 4 really good friends who are on the cusp of adolescence, about to begin middle school, final weekend of summer, and they make a startling discovery that sort of alters the course of their lives. And, my hope is that this is a film that sort of is about the bridge between childhood and adulthood.
Excellent. Now, speaking of the 4 friendships, we have some of the cast members joining us today. So, Leah, very excited. Tell us a little bit about your character, Daisy, and how you relate to her. Apologies, Lisa.
Daisy? So Daisy is one of the 4 friends, and it's the last weekend of summer, and they're just about to start middle school. And I think I kind of relate to Daisy because she's really quiet and shy, and I think I can sometimes be like that too. And also her dad left her and her mother, and she's having a hard time dealing with that. And over the course of the movie, the discovery that they make, it kind of helps her deal with that in a way. And I just really relate to her because I don't know, I'm like at that age, and also I'm having trouble with girls, and she feels like she's never take that. She feels like
All right. Well, I appreciate that insight, and I know this is going to be such an exciting film to watch. Now, Madalen, tell us, you originally started on Broadway and then made your move to film. So how is going in front of an audience to in front of a camera? How is that for you?
Yeah, it was definitely different. I feel like on Broadway and just in theater in general, it's really so big and dramatic, and you have to like play to the back of the house, they say. And whereas, on screen, the camera's right up on your face, so you don't have to be as dramatic and make such big choices as an actress. And so this experience was really great because it just provided more experience for me, just for being in front of the camera, and I really had fun with it.
Excellent. Now, Eden Grace, tell us, what do you like to do when you are not acting?
Well, one of my favorite things to do is I really like to draw. Like, I draw a little too much. I enjoy, like, baking. I'm not very good at it, but that's okay because I like to do it.
I love to draw as well. Now, Sanai, tell us a little bit about you. You have a book coming out as well as a 6-song EP. So how do you juggle all of those things as well as being a successful actor?
I think you guys might have the wrong bio just because I don't have a book come out and the EP was a little bit a while ago, but
You seem to be a very successful actor. So talk to us a little bit about your career and how you juggled the filming of this movie as well as all of the other projects you have coming up.
Okay. Well, I've been acting since I was 7, and I started that through pageants, and then my mom thought that I was like really good on stage, so kind of started my first showcase and stuff like that. And my like first audition that I got, I actually ended up booking, which was a national commercial. So it kind of just like went on from there. And then I was on Girl Meets World. I've done a lot of Disney and a lot of comedy. So for this to be like really dramatic and for me to have to really dig deep into who the character of Lola was really interesting for me because I haven't done a lot of dramatic things. So that was a really cool experience for me.
It sounds so exciting for you. Now, James, talk to us a little bit about how this was different for you versus the previous works that you've done.
You know, I mean, in many ways, there were a lot of similarities. I mean, between films that I've done, you know, with characters that were a bit older. I mean, some of the themes that are at the core of this, you know, about a fear of relationships ending, you know, people confronting their own personal demons, sort of how characters can transform, how they have to relate to sort of a traumatic experience and make big decisions. I think there's, you know, a commonality, but I think something that was really exciting for me in having protagonists that were, you know, that were younger was that I think, you know, we don't have enough films that dignify the emotional inner lives and experiences and hopes and fears of younger characters in the same way that we don't of much older characters, of elderly characters. I think those groups really get left out from stories that are sort of more dramatic tellings that have sort of an ambition to go deep inside the characters. So that was really exciting for me. You know, I related to these characters. I could see a version of my sister, of my wife, of my daughter, of my mother in all of them. And I'm interested in sort of the generational divide of the story of these young women and their relationship with their own mothers, and sort of that disconnect in the way we sort of look back at our own childhood and sort of project our memories, and perhaps we're revisionist historians to some degree when we try to remember how our childhoods are.
Now, James, I absolutely am so excited to dive into this further. Now, tell us, what is next for you and what are your plans for the future?
You know, right now, you know, I'm excited just to bring Summering to the world premiere at Sundance. Sundance is my favorite festival in the whole world. We shot this film in Utah over the summer, which was such a thrill. It's such a Utah-centric film, and we all had such an amazing experience. So really, for me, it's bring this film into the world, and I'm editing, also editing a TV show that I directed last year as well that I'm excited that'll come out later this year. But right now, I'm just obsessed with Summering and sharing it with the world.
Well, tell us, where can the audience catch Summering, and when does it air for everyone to see?
Yeah, so Summering premieres today, Saturday, at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 4 o'clock Pacific. You can do the other time zones. It'll have a window there where you can see the world premiere, and then it will play again on Monday, all day. There's an all-day window starting first thing in the morning on Monday. There'll be a 24-hour window where people could watch the second screening, and then many opportunities between now and the summer, which is when the film is planned to be released.
Well, James and all of the cast, thank you so much for joining us today, and I believe that the audience will love this lighthearted film. Check out Summering on the Sundance website for all of the viewing times. We will be right back after this.
And we've come to the end of our live show in the can today, covering many great films. I actually feel very fortunate, the quality of films that we got to discuss today, and also the wide variety.
It was really such a variety. You have humor, you've got a thriller, you've got a feel-good family summer film, so many options. It's going to be hard to make sure you get all of them crammed in to watch.
Yeah, from movies that are premiering at the festival in many different categories, short films to also documentaries, and a slam dance film thrown in there as well. I know that I loved all the films that I was able to watch, especially enjoyed Brian and Charles. Just a very charming British film.
I absolutely love British humor, so I'm so excited to watch this one.
And they go on a very unexpected adventure. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but just delightful. So highly recommend that one. Actually, all the films I watched, Calendar Girls was really fun to watch that older group of women support each other and perform. They were great performers. The way they smiled and engaged the audience, that was my favorite part of that film.
I'm excited to watch that one as well. As a former dancer myself, I think it's just really inspiring to see women in the next stage of their life. It gives me hope, and I cannot wait to continue dancing.
And Hannah Haha, also with Slam Dance, was another great film that I just did that interview for. Just really made me think about the small town I grew up in and how I define success and how I don't want to push my definition of success on other people.
I think that's absolutely right. You know, everybody is successful in many different ways, whether it's defined financially, personally, whatever they choose to do. And so it's just very inspiring.
And this is what I love about the Sundance Film Festival, all these great conversations, people that we get to meet from all over the world, how we get exposed to different ideas and different cultures. So really enjoyed it and love having you here with us, Kimberly. It's your second day of coverage.
It's just been so much fun and so exciting to be able to meet all of this talent.
Well, we will be back tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. for more coverage. In the meantime, hope that you have a great day.